everyone knows where this is, yes?
Amsterdam.
Yes, okay.
Roughly.
Capital of the Netherlands. I always thought The Hague was the capital, but apparently it changed in 1983. So, everybody been to Amsterdam, or most of you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
yes, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've in your skunk days, okay. Very kind of, it's a pretty city actually. It's kind of like it's always very busy, but it's an interesting place. Okay, here we are in Brussels. The Atomium, which was built in 1958 for the World's Fair, still there, looking a bit strange these days, but you can go to the top of it if you feel so inclined, and you get a good view across the city. Brussels gets not terribly good reviews actually, but I thought it was quite a nice city actually, quite interesting sort of place. If you like mussels and chips and beer. But there's the old town hall, I think, in the main square in Brussels. Interesting Gothic architecture.
Isn't it?
Being in the streets, the mannequin P, which is apparently it's not uncommon for gentlemen to take a relief in the street corners in Brussels. It's something that's not particularly frowned on. So it's still we're on C now. So this is César Franck, Belgian composer, 1822 to 1890. He's seated at his organ here, which I think is quite an important part of his life, wasn't it? Organ stuff, but he did all kinds of compositions of different instruments and symphonies and stuff. Anyway, there you go. That's famous Belgian composer. Here we have
Chocolate.
chocolat. Yeah, Belgian.
Yeah, chocolate.
Yeah, Belgian chocolate.
Wonderful.
Yes, marvelous.
Yeah, which is really nice, but arguably, I don't know, the best in the world. The Swiss seem to think they make better chocolate.
Yeah, I think the Swiss do make better.
Well, I quite like the Belgian stuff, but there you go. It's,
Yes, I do.
okay, where am I here? Oh, yeah, drugs. Onto drugs. Amsterdam, the famous liberal city where they used to have what they called brown cafes, where you could buy well, you could buy drugs and you could smoke them in the cafe if you wanted to. And they're having a major problem at the moment because apparently there's a huge illegal drug problem going on in the city. There's lots of violence and drug gangs and all the rest of it. And the liberal attitude has been sort of taken advantage of, really. So Amsterdam is perhaps having a little bit of a recession into less liberal days, I suppose, but anyway, there you go. This is Eindhoven, yes, which is in Brabant, centre of technology and design, famous for the Philips company. You probably all know Philips stuff. It's one of the most expensive cities in Europe because everybody here is very rich, so everything's very expensive, but I don't know if that's true or not, but who's this? It's Ned Flanders. Okay.
Ned Flanders. Yeah. Oh, Flanders, very good.
So, who is, if you know The Simpsons, Ned Flanders is an evangelical Christian who lives next door to Homer Simpson. Is the poppies in Flanders Fields, which amazing sort of display. Yeah. Which leads me on to, okay, here's a poem in Flanders Fields, written by John McCrae in 1915 after one of his colleagues had been killed. He was a Canadian and he was a surgeon, so he was working in field hospitals in Belgium, and he wrote this rather touching poem. It's for those of you who are interested in the dynamics of poetry, it's a rondo. So it's octosyllabic, with the opening words used as a on-rhyming refrain at the end of the second and the third stanzas. So, there you go. Anybody want to read it?
In Flanders fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the lark still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from falling hands we throw the torch, yours to hold and tie. If you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Thank you. That was nice. Yeah.
Of course, yes.
Okay. This gentleman, I did say it's Benelux, so we have to look to Luxembourg. His name is Hugo Gernbach, 1885 to 1967. He was a magazine publisher, and he published the very first science fiction magazine, and he sort of made science fiction a respectable literary genre. So this magazine was called Amazing Stories. It was in America, but he was born in Luxembourg. So there you go. Okay, this is The Hague, which I thought was the capital until, but it's an important business centre, and it's, I don't know, there seems to be a lot of new stuff there. I seem to remember it as a rather pretty colonial type city, but there's obviously lots of new stuff gone up since then, because of course it is the centre for the International Court of Justice, which is set out there. Okay, who's this? We're on J, by the way. Boris Johnson's nemesis.
Yeah, Juncker, isn't it?
Yeah, Jean-Claude Juncker. Yeah.
Juncker.
He was the president of the EU, wasn't he? He hails from Luxembourg, so it's kind of. Anyway, there you go. He was a important man in Europe, not very fond of the British at the time, I don't think. Okay. Any offers?
Oh, I recognise him.
Okay.
What letter are we on? What letter?
J, we're still on J, but it's a first name, Christian name. Yeah.
Johnny.
No, okay. It's Jacques Brel. Okay.
Ah,
A lot of people think he was French, but in fact, because he was
Belgium.
yeah.
Yeah, his singing voice with a Belgian accent, it's really lovely. Good.
Yeah, especially with that kind of cigarette-enhanced sort of.
Quite attractive. Very attractive.
Yeah.
It's probably his most famous. He wrote a lot of stuff, but his most famous.
Yeah.
If You Go Away or Ne Me Quitte Pas.
Yeah.
He died quite young, actually. 1929 to 1978, and I struggled with K, so I ended up with Dutch Cook, which is cake. So,
Oh, it's lovely. Looks gorgeous.
It looks,
Well, looks
really,
rather good.
yeah,
Looks
it's-
like
really
sticky
moist.
toffee pudding.
Oh,
yeah,
yes, it
looks-
does, doesn't it? Yeah.
not many
Very
calories
piece of
in
that.
that one. No. Luxembourg. This is the Luxembourg city, which is very kind of a pretty, almost unreal sort of place, actually. And in the middle of it, there's this great gorge which runs through the centre of the city. Luxembourg, small, very small. Duchy, I think it is, isn't it? There's a Duke of Luxembourg or something. Population around about 640,000, and about a quarter of them live in the city. The rest of it is mostly countryside and farming. Okay, is this the right way up or the wrong way up? Yeah.
Who can tell?
Yes. Well, it's
Mondrian.
yeah, 1872 to 1944. Was it in New York where a painting had been hung upside down for about 50 years or something, when they found out it should have been the other way around? But there you are. Lines and lines and lines.
I think they're great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're still on Belgian. Although Mondrian was Dutch, this is a Belgian artist.
Magritte.
Marguerite.
Magritte, yeah. His dates are, what are they? Oh, 1898 to 1967, which is, yeah.
His stuff leaves me cold. I don't really like his stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
okay. Anybody like it?
yeah, I love it. It
Funny.
makes you think. C'est pas une pipe, c'est une casquette.
I think this is
It's
very
creepy.
clever poster. Here's one you'll love then, Bernard.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. It is very strange.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Netherlands. We all call it Holland, but of course Holland is only a very small part of it. South Holland, North Holland, the rest of all these other provinces which make up the country. I don't think they mind too much, but you know, we do think of it as Holland, don't we? But
Yeah, we do, yeah. I do.
and this is excuse me, Ostend, which is, I don't know, the Belgium's Blackpool or Brighton or whatever. And it's a very popular resort on the Belgian coast. Okay.
Yeah.
And these are polders. You know what polders are?
Oh,
No.
yeah.
No.
No.
But it's
Please,
Reserving water.
yeah, land reclaimed from the.
Yes.
Much of the Netherlands is below sea level, so they, in order to counteract that, they've.
Oh, yeah. Amazing, really, what they've done there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So they have polders and dikes, which are cultivated stretches of land. I worry about this sort of thing now with rising sea levels and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Much of this must be threatened. Yeah, I mean, on the
Yeah.
east coast of England, where it's to a lesser extent, but the North and places like that are threatened by rising. This town Réunion, which is in Wallonia in the southern part of Belgium, in the French-speaking part, it doesn't look terribly prepossessing, but
it's a terraced house town.
it begins with Q. Yeah. Apparently, it has a very interesting modernist museum there for some reason or other. I don't know why, but it's only a small town, but the museum is quite interesting. But there we go. What's that? Oh yeah, here's a photograph of the young Nell.
Yes, it does look like Nell, doesn't it?
I know.
Yeah. That's quite a compliment.
That's it. It's a lovely painting.
It's well, we know who the painter is, don't we?
It's lovely.
You know the painter?
Rembrandt.
Yeah, okay, and it's a self-portrait, which apparently
Beautiful.
in his painting The Night Watch, this is him appearing in as one of the characters in The Night Watch, but 1606 to 1669. So, and
I love those eyes. The way one's
They're beautiful. Yeah.
slightly hooded. They're not just the same. They're very different. I think really.
The colouring is marvellous, isn't it?
But I think it seems to be a very young man, doesn't it? I mean, it's kind of like a wispy. But anyway, there you go.
It's very accurate, isn't it? Because you look with one eye and your other eye is for perspective, to give you distance. So he's actually showing that in his painting.
Yeah.
Yes,
Around the corner from Rembrandt's house, we have the red light district in Amsterdam, which also is in danger of being removed. Apparently, the city council wants to take away these the windows where the girls display themselves and move them to another area. But there's a bit of an outcry about that because it is a part of Amsterdam's tradition. But there we are. It's very strange, yeah, and it's kind of like suddenly the lights go out and the curtains come across, and you realise that
they're in business.
yeah, the lady has a visitor. But there you go. It's kind of and here we have Belgian biscuits, speculoos.
I've just had one of those with my coffee.
Yeah.
I love them. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's like a spiced short bread type of thing. Very popular apparently at Advent and Christmas in Belgium. But
Oh, it's lovely.
okay, tea. This is. I just like this painting. Actually, that's all. I don't know who it's by, but it's kind of it's Abel Tasman. He worked for the Dutch East India Company, and at much of the same time, England and Netherlands were in competition with each other about settling colonies and all the rest of it. But he did much of the exploration of Australia, and Tasmania is of course named after him. He lived from 1603 to 1659.
Fingers, sausages.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Oh yeah.
It's not his hand, unless he had three
They've got
arms.
nails, so it must be fingers. There's nails, aren't there? Look.
Yes, I think it's fingers.
Oh.
There's somebody next to him handing him something, isn't there? It's not.
Why through a box?
Is he holding the box? Is that
He's holding the box.
Oh yes,
There's a
I think the
hand.
arm.
He's
the
only
arm
got.
underneath.
He's got two hands already busy, so I don't know.
Yeah. So
And there's the Tasmanian devil, which apparently has been introduced into only found in Tasmania, but now introduced into New South Wales for presumably ecological reasons. I can't think. And it has the fiercest bite in relation to its size of any animal. So if you're ever in Tasmania, be careful. Yeah.
okay.
And they eat anything, have a go at anything. Okay, conscious of the time. Utrecht, which looks remarkably like Amsterdam, actually, doesn't it? On this,
Lovely, lovely.
but, famous university city. The university was founded in 1636. But
And the Treaty of Utrecht.
yes, okay. When was that, Bernard?
1617.
Okay.
Well done, Bernard.
No, I'm just inventing that. I just said
I know you are.
You just made that up.
Who is this?
Van Gogh.
With a poorly ear.
No, yeah.
This is rather, yeah, well, he didn't cut it all off, it was only the outside of it. But
Inner.
and here is I love this painting. I don't know why. It was kind of different from most of it. Yeah,
Is that
it's
Van Gogh?
landscape in snow. Yeah,
Oh, yes.
painted in 1888, shortly before he died. So, but most of his things are about either flowers or sunlight or corn but this is a winterscape, which
I think it's wonderful.
Thank you.
That's absolutely wonderful. He's seen all in the snow. He's still seeing the colours that are in white. It's really interesting how he's done that.
But I just, we're all familiar with quite a lot of his paintings, but this is one that you don't see very often, and I really like it.
It's lovely. I like that.
And this is Waterloo, the only photograph taken in 1815. But this is one of those reenactment things of Waterloo in Belgium. And of course, Belgium is famous for waffles. Rather nice. There you go. And X, I couldn't find anything.
Oh, come on.
So I settled for X at the end of a word.
Cheat.
Well, interestingly, the xylophone was developed in Belgium.
I thought it was
Oh.
Swiss. I
No,
looked
no, it was developed by
Okay.
I can't remember the guy. That's a Belgian percussionist who developed it in the early 1800s.
Mr. Zyle, was it? Okay.
Yeah, must have been.
Wasn't he Irish? Oh, phone.
Yeah, Zyle. Yeah, okay. Anyway, I settled for Ajax because it had an X in it. That was all, the famous Dutch football team. And
Why do we used to have a cleaner called Ajax? Why do we? Is there a god called Ajax?
well,
Ajax.
there was a cartoon character called Ajax. But no, it's Ajax was one of the.
He's a warrior.
He's a Greek warrior, wasn't he? Yeah.
Oh yeah, so you're fighting.
Yeah, I think he's involved in the Siege of Troy. I think he has a connection to that. But Ajax is something I don't know if they still make it, but I was very familiar with when I was a kid. There was always a tin of Ajax around, but scouring powder, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yes,
Anyway,
yes.
Ajax, one of the Dutch's most successful football teams, they play in the Johan Cruyff Stadium, who was one of their most illustrious players back in the 70s and 80s. Okay. Not much time. We were in Ypres. Now, this is the Menin Gate, which was built in 1927, and it has written on the walls the names of I think 40,000 soldiers who fell in the First World War, whose bodies were never found or reclaimed, and the names are, and probably apart from the war years themselves in the Second World War, it performs the last post ceremony every night and has done ever since it was built. And people come from all over the world to take part in the last post ceremony. Choirs, all kinds of people. I was there in 1918 for the end of the 100 years of the Second World War, because Chris's choir was singing at the gate, and it was very moving actually, and it was always packed out, loads of people there. And a lot of the war graves are in the area, Neepval and Tankot and places like that. There's a lot of people working there. But there you go, it's a memorial to those who died in the First World War. And here's one I think this is Tankot. This is one of the war graves. But a lot of the graves are in farms. They're just like cordoned off. Those sorts of where they found bodies of the stuck in corners of farm fields. And anyway, there you go. And finally, what have we got? Oh yeah, Zuiderzee, which is, when I was a kid, it's now called Ijsselmeer, I think is it. But it was a shallow bay in the North Sea, which was cordoned off, if you like, and eventually it became from a saltwater inlet, it became a freshwater lake, and much of it has been reclaimed. And I think 400,000 people now live somewhere on or around it, where before it was just water. But as I said before, I would be quite worried about rising sea levels and stuff. But there you go. I think that's probably it, actually.
Last minute, Graham.
Okay, and
minute.
That's one of the settlements around the lake.
Thank you. That was really good.
Brilliant as ever.